Today we're going to make some scrap wood planter boxes using Scotch Extreme Vinyls.
If you ever visit me in Joshua Tree, I'll probably offer you one of these little cute cacti in a homemade planter. Cholla cacti are really common out here, and I've been removing them from the property where I'm building my new home. And every time I cut one down, we plant the segments of them into pots and give them away. Just because I don't want them doesn't mean other people don't. So I've been running out of clay pots, and I asked Jesse to come up with an easy DIY planter that can be made from various wood scraps that get produced from all of our other builds. These scraps vary a lot in appearance, so we're using Scotch Extreme Vinyls to give them a nice uniform appearance.
I started with some cedar offcuts, which we have a lot of. I cut 2 pieces at the agreed upon 7 inches, and these will be the ends of the box. Well, actually I cut 4 pieces because I'm making 2 boxes. Next up, plywood panels for the sides of the boxes. Now, I know what you're thinking, plywood is not great for outdoors, but here's where we get to the good part. Each piece of plywood is going to be completely covered in Scotch Extreme Vinyls for a few reasons. And number one on that list would be its ability to stand up to, you guessed it, weather. Scotch Extreme Vinyls can withstand negative 40 degrees up to 200 degrees. And while, okay, the weather out here is not that extreme, but it's really nice to know that there's so much buffer on either side. Scotch Extreme Vinyls are fade tested to make sure that any color that you get will stay bright even if you leave it outside. And it's also water resistant, which is important because it does rain and snow, even here. I cut a couple pieces at 7 inches to match the height of the box and a couple pieces that were skinnier for the underneath. I let the size of my scrap dictate the length of the box. The larger one will be about 15 inches and the smaller one will be less than that. I forgot how long it is. For the pieces that will go on the underside of the box, I measured out the length of the side minus the width of 2 pieces of 2x material because it has to fit inside the underside of the box. Well, it doesn't have to, but it looks nice that way. I gave each piece a quick once-over with a belt sander and a 120 grit belt. They didn't really need to be sanded per se, but I wanted to get rid of any sharp edges and splinters. Scotch Extreme Vinyls come in a variety of colors, and we went with black and white for this project. This was my first time using it, and there were a couple things that stood out to me immediately. Thing number one is that Scotch Extreme Vinyls are intentionally designed to be very thin, which means that it will actually contour to whatever you're fixing it to. Okay, so this is just a flat piece of plywood, but look at how it picks up that wood grain. That is something I did not expect, and I really like the look of it. Thing number two is that it sticks only where you want it to stick. Why? Because it's pressure activated. Yes, it actually has technology built right into it. There are microbeads that allow you to glide the vinyl across the surface until you find your perfect placement. And then just press it into place. Even though cedar is fine outside, I decided to put some simple finish on it. It adds a little bit of protection, but it also just makes it look so nice. To assemble the box, I marked where all the screws would go, 4 on each side. I pre-drilled the holes to keep the plywood from splitting, and I was really pleased when the drill bit went straight through the vinyl, no problem, no twisting. I set the screws first to make assembly a little bit easier, and then attached the plywood directly to the cedar. Same for the other side. Flip, rinse, repeat. New day, new thing. I made pocket holes for the first time. We decided on pocket holes for the underside of the boxes to keep the visible hardware to a minimum. And the reason for the slatted pieces in the bottom instead of a full piece? Well, drainage is important to plants, turns out. I screwed the bottom panels into place, leaving a little bit of gap on either side and in the center. Last but not least, I decided to put some mesh in the bottom of the planters because it's good to have backup, and guess what? We have scrap mesh as well. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and thanks for watching. Cheers!